Hey, what's up, y'all? RJ here with CV Tech, and today I'm giving my review on the ZTE Tempo. This phone here is on Boost Mobile, and no, there will not be a first impressions and first thoughts video on this phone, unfortunately. And also, I have requests to do a comparison between this phone here and the ZTE Prestige. That also not be able to get done as well. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts on the phone, give you the specs, run some tests, play some games, just give you my overall thoughts on the phone in this review. Now, with dealing with the comparison between the ZTE Tempo and the ZTE Prestige, they are actually the exact same phone. Just a couple of little differences, okay? They both look the same. They both feel the same, have the same kind of back material, everything. The only difference is this phone here has a 4.5-inch display instead of a 5-inch display like on the Prestige. And this phone here runs Marshmallow, and the Prestige runs 5.1.1. So this phone here is almost exactly like it. Has the same processor, the same ROM, the same RAM, the same front and rear camera. Records in the same 720p resolution, and basically has the same screen with a little bit higher PPI on the ZTE Tempo because of the smaller display. So basically, this phone right here is identically the same as the ZTE Prestige, except this one here just runs Marshmallow. So I want to get that out of the way before I got into this review. Now, looking around the phone here, in front here, you'll see it has a 4.5-inch display that is 480 by 854 resolution with a PPI of 218. The Prestige was 196, so it's a little bit better. I can tell a little bit better quality in the screen on this phone. Now, this phone, like I said, does run 6.0.1 Marshmallow. And up top here, you got your ear speaker here. You got your back, your home and recents button. They do light up blue, which is really nice. On the bottom, you have a microphone. On the left, micro USB charging port. On top is your power button, standard headset jack. And on the right side here is your volume rocker. On the back is your camera, flash, microphone here, and single rear speaker. We'll go ahead here and pop the back of this thing off. And this phone does not have a removable battery. The battery is a 2200 milliamp hour battery. And I gotta say, the battery life on this thing is pretty good, with around 14.8 hours of talk time. Here, of course, is your micro SD card slot, and here is your nano SIM card slot here. This phone does feel very solid. It does not feel cheap at all. It just has a really nice feel to it. If you look at it from the front, it kind of reminds you in a way of the ZTE Warp Elite, kind of like a mini version of it. But like I said, it really does look a lot like the ZTE Prestige. Now, this phone does run the 1.1 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 210 processor with only 1 gigabyte of RAM, 8 gigabytes of built-in storage, and it will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. This phone does support 3G, 4G, LTE, enhanced LTE, and it does have Bluetooth 4.1. So that's about all the specs there on the device. And so we'll go ahead here and we'll power the phone on. And the screen, like I said, the screen does not look too bad. It's nothing really to write home about, but the screen does look a bit better than like the other cheap ZTEs. Now this phone right here does run fairly smooth, especially being the processor that it is for the price point of the phone. It does seem to run fairly well. Like I said, down here are your home and back buttons and all there. They do light up blue. And up top here is a notification light that I forgot to mention. So we'll go in here and we'll go down to About Phone, and we'll go to Android version 6.0.1, and there it is. So yeah, little Android guy there. Now looking down at the drop down here, you have some different airplane mode flashlight, which is really nice to see. Pretty bright. Sync, do not disturb, auto rotate your brightness here. Turn the brightness down just a little bit. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth location, stuff like that. Now going back into here now, I want to go ahead and make mention of this here from the get-go about adaptable storage. This phone does have adaptable storage. So go in here, you'll see 6.48 gigabytes used of 8. Down here is a 4 gigabyte micro SD card. So we'll click on that. It says eject, format, and format as internal. So we'll push that there, erase and format. So right now it is formatting the micro SD card. So we'll let it sit here and do its thing. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time. Now, I do recommend using at least a Class 10 card for phones that have deductible storage, because you want a phone, or you want a SD card that has, some speed to it. So I would, like I say, recommend the at least a Class 10 card. So it says move data to new storage, move now or move later. It says the move takes about 17 seconds. Will free 170 megabytes on internal storage. So we'll say move now, next, and move. And I'm not sure how long this will take. If it takes more than a few seconds, then I will just pause and come back. But it seems to be moving along at a pretty good little pace here. I don't want to make this video too awful long. But I do want to show you a lot about this phone, since I was not able to do a first thoughts and impressions and everything else. I do have games to play and tests to run. So what I want to do right now is go ahead and pause, and I'll come back when this is finished. Okay, you'll see here it says Transcend SD card is ready. Your new Transcend SD card is working. To move photos, files, and app data to this device, go to settings and storage. So done. And now this is part of the internal storage. So yes, it does have adaptable storage, and you can do that. So that's pretty awesome. You got mobile hotspot, all that stuff on this phone as well. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the dialer, and it's just your standard dialer. It's yeah, it is what it is. Go into messaging here, and of course I think this one here does come with 2 keyboards. It comes with the Google keyboard, and it comes with the standard keyboard. So this right here is Google keyboard, and of course it is really easy to use, really nice. And if you want emojis, this button right here, hold down on it. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there it is. There's all your emojis. So there is plenty of them to go around. For anything that you want to see, there is your emojis. So that's all good. Now I want to take just a brief look at the camera. Now I did do a camera test with this device, and that will be uploaded in a day or two. But this right here, of course, is your photo button here, taking a picture and taking video here. Here is your rear camera button, front camera. So we'll look at some of the settings here. Now this does have a 2 megapixel camera in the front, has a point and shoot mode, shutter tone, geotagging, review, storage location. Video here does record in 720, 480, and VGA. And that's just about all there is to settings. Got self timer up here as well. So go ahead here and go. You got on the rear facing camera, you got Pro mode, Auto, and Fun mode. But you got panorama, HDR, effect, multi-exposure, macro, and smile. And of course your Pro mode over here, you can go in here and just change whatever you want to. So we'll go back over here into automatic mode, and we'll look here. Camera is of course full screen, on or off. So it can be 16:9 or 4:3 if you wish. And video, you got 720, 480 VGA, and you got time lapse as well, and focus lock while recording. So yeah, it is what it is. You just stay tuned for the camera test that I did with this phone. I was actually quite impressed with the camera quality in bright daylight. So yeah. So now We can go over here. We're going to play Temple Run 2. We're going to just see how the game looks, how the game works, and see how smooth it does play. So just waiting for it to load up here. And we'll play it for a second to see how gameplay is on this device. It is pretty responsive. Pretty much everything that I do with this phone here, since when I used it, worked pretty good. It did, of course, lag up here and there. The harder you push the phone, compared to some other phones that you're kind of used to using with more power. This one here just cannot handle power for very long without starting to lag up and freeze up. But as you see here, gameplay is pretty good for Temple Run 2. We're going to run Asphalt Nitro and get this right here set up. And when this is ready to roll, I'll come back. Okay, so Asphalt Nitro did not want to cooperate. I went on there twice. It went to a loading screen and it sit there and loaded and loaded and loaded like it was just really struggling to do anything. Like I made mention, this phone right here is just not a powerhouse. This phone right here, to me, ranks in the category of the new Alcatel Dawn or the new LG K3. With honestly using all three of them phones, including all three of both of those phones and the ZTE here, the ZTE does seem to be the more powerful of all three of them, but it does struggle quite a bit, and I would definitely not use this here as a daily driver at all. This would be more of a kind of throw in the car, throw in a backpack, something just to have for a spare if you're going somewhere where you're not really worried about hurting your phone or if it gets broken. This phone right here, right now, in certain places it goes as high as $59. Some are as low as $39. But to me, even that's too expensive. I mean, $59 for this phone right here is ridiculous. This phone here would be a good phone to go for like 20 bucks, and I don't see it really staying at that high of a price very long. As seeing as how the other phones, the K3 and the Alcatel Dawn, have really just plummeted in price with just a couple of months they've been out. So this one here probably will follow right on behind it. Now, I will run a quadrant standard test here just to show you how the speeds are. Now, some of the pros of this phone here is the rear speaker is pretty loud. Some ringtones I have used are very loud. You have no trouble hearing it whatsoever. That's a major plus. Speakerphone is okay. When you're recording a video and like in camcorder mode, it does not sound the greatest in the world. It's got kind of a really high low pitch to it. If you get my drift, it's got a high sound to it, but it's quiet, so it's nothing really to brag about. It has good reception, good connectivity, good call quality. Basically, it's about on par with any other phone that you see. So looking at the results here, and you see this one here comes in on top at 8466, which is only about 1,000 points less than the Tribute HD. So that's really not much difference between this one and the Tribute HD. But you can just tell a big difference in performance. So we're going to back out of here now, go into Geekbench 4. Now this here will take a little bit longer, so I'll have to pause and come back. But you see it does have it says 1.09 gigahertz. Memory is 902 megabytes. So we'll go ahead and run this Geekbench 4 here. And I'll go ahead and make a couple of other things about the phone while this is running, and I will pause it if need be. The camera, like I said, I did a camera test on this phone, and during bright sunlight, it does very well for a very budget device. It's not bad at all. Low light is pretty much useless, of course. Battery life is really good on this device. A whole day, maybe even more, depending on how you use your phone. This phone right here would not be a phone you would really push a whole lot, or like really use it as a daily driver, because for the price of this phone, you can get other phones for the same price or a little bit higher that are much, much better than this device. Not saying it's a bad device, because it's not. I mean, it's really a nice little device, and it'd be nice to see Android or ZTE make a phone with this size, 4.5-inch display, with this kind of build that has the same kind of specs like the Warp Elite. And they're running the Snapdragon 410 with 2 GB of RAM. Double the storage on this device. With the same kind of camera sensors front and rear as you see on the Warp Elite. Go for like, around $99 for a phone like this here will be awesome. Because not everybody likes big phablets, 5.5, 5.7-inch displays. Some like 4.5-inch displays, 4.7-inch displays. It'd be really nice to see that kind of specs and have a phone this size with this kind of quality, the way it feels and the way it looks. With the same kind of specs as a phone like the Warp 7, Warp Elite, stuff like that. It's about 50-50, I guess you could say. It does basic phone function pretty well. Call quality, reception, the occasional game. Sometimes Facebook does tend to, slow down. YouTube plays pretty good. You can only watch YouTube in 480. Because it's only a 480 display screen. But, like I say, it is a very cheap budget device, and really you get what you pay for. Even though $60 is not a cheap price for a phone, but this phone here is very expensive. So, yeah. I mean, it does hang up, it does have its issues, and it is fairly slow. So, it's just my thoughts on the phone. I'll let this test here run out, and then I'll come back when it's finished. And 12 minutes later, we are just at 70%. Okay, so I could have traveled to the moon and back quicker than this test ran on this phone. But as you see here, 384 single score, 968 multi-score. Not even going to bother to get a single core, multi-core comparisons, because it's not going to touch anything that it's going to show. So there is your scores right there. So what are my final thoughts on the phone? If you ask me, do I recommend this device? That's really not for me to call. It's not a bad device. It's not a great device, and it's definitely not going to be for everyone. I would say this phone here would be good for a kid getting their first smartphone. If you like I said, if you were choosing between the Alcatel Dawn, LG K3, or the ZTE Tempo, I would say ZTE Tempo slightly edges out the K3 in my personal opinion. This would be a good phone for somebody, like I said, who wants to just have a phone to throw around. If you're going somewhere hiking or going to some kind of park and you really don't care if it gets beat up or dropped, it probably won't hurt it none. And it's cheap, but for the price point that it is right now, being $60 at most places, I can't recommend it at that price because it's just not worth it. Because it does have its issues. It does lag. It does freeze up. And I'm kind of getting tired myself of seeing manufacturers pumping these phones out here with 3-year-old specs. Just bare bones specs and everything. It'd be nice to see Android or these manufacturers like this here make this kind of size phone that people do like still, that has kind of the internals of a more popular or more powerful device like the Warp Elite, the Warp 7, and so on and so on, like the LG K3. Be nice to see the same kind of specs from a Stylo 2 go on that phone in a, very small device. So, it's kind of aggravating. If you stayed for this whole scatter review, bless you. I appreciate it very much. This phone will not be kept. It has to be returned tomorrow, being the last day it can be returned. And I'm not going to waste $60 on this phone because it will come down in price. And I may get it again if I can get it for like $20. But 60 is just way too expensive for this device. But overall, it's not bad. It's just not something that I would pick up and use as a daily driver. So this was informative in any way. Hit that thumbs up button. Any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. I'm sorry this was so long, but not being able to do a first impressions and first thoughts video and all that stuff, had to do it all in review form. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see y'all in the next video.